Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, attorney Kim Hegwood of Your Legacy Legal Care, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest today is Zack Butler. Good morning, Zack.
Good morning, Kim. How are you?
I am great. We're going to talk about something we're both very passionate about, and that's veterans benefits. And I guess our presentation today is going to be, are you leaving money on the table? Because I talk to veterans a lot going, there's free money, so it's like free money, so all right. So let's talk, let's kind of back up because we don't want to get too excited at the very beginning of the show and talk to our listeners about kind of give us an overview of the different veterans benefits that are available to those living in Texas.
No, absolutely. I'm excited to do so. I think to your point, at the end of the day, what we do on our business side, we get to see so many people, and there's so many veterans, and it just it hurts, right? To figure out as I'm talking to veterans, I'm like, oh, you've never heard of this? You've never thought to look at this? I mean, that's quite a bit of money, right? I was doing some stuff today, looking at some of the VA guaranteed issue life insurance policies, just taking a look at them. So there's just a host of benefits out there that I think are very detrimental when we're looking at how do we save money, how do we plan for our futures, and how do we combine them with other the civilian side of things to really just put ourselves in the right position.
Can you tell our listeners what some of those benefits are?
Yeah. Okay. So now in Texas, we luck out because we have some specific benefits. But let's talk about kind of the federal level, right? So at the federal level, you have a lot of your base benefits, right? You've got your VA medical care. So now everybody can do that. Everybody can go establish care with the VA, get a PCP, things like that. Depending on your disability rating, if you have one, that's basically how much you're going to pay associated to your VA medical care. So if you're 50% or higher disability rating, all your VA medical is free. If you're lower than that, you kind of hit some copays, but it's still a much, much lower copay when you're looking at going to get, medical things like that. My glasses were actually provided to me from the VA. And so they'll give you a pair of glasses every 2 years. And if you break them, they'll give you a new pair. If you have a 6-year-old son like me, unfortunately, that it's likely that may happen at some point. So the VA medical side is really good. I would definitely encourage you to look at the specific clinics that are close to you. Go kind of look at the reviews. And luckily here in the Houston area, there's quite a few. So take a look and find one that's got really good service. A lot of them do. And really kind of get in there and focus on that. And the best thing, in my opinion, that I see, especially for people, coming onto Medicare for the VA side, is they can get their prescriptions covered through the VA, right? And so depending on that rating, right, is going to kind of see where your copays are. But a lot of those really expensive drugs, if you're on the VA, or if you are a veteran and you're coming into your Medicare years and you're like, man, that's expensive. Well, if you go establish a PCP at the VA and then get it prescribed to you that way, if you're over 50% disabled, you get it for free. And if you're not, then you're going to normally pay a pretty low copay. So that's kind of a small way to initially start. I think the other big thing is just the overall disability ratings and compensation. So I'm helping a veteran right now. He's in his late 70s, and he has documentation all the way back to when he got hurt in the military for a back issue. And so we are working on getting him approved right now. Normally we work that through like a veteran service organization. So if you're looking at things like trying to apply for disability, you can do that through a VSO, a veteran service organization like the American Legion. I know quite a few people there to get you in contact with if that's something that you need help with. But what they will do is help you establish your claim, get it sent through, and help guide you through the process So that way you're not just going, oh man, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know where to start. They're really good about helping kind of hold your hand through the process. And what's nice about that, right, is there is compensation associated with that, right? So, and that can be just help for extra benefits. Are you leaving money, right, that you deserve on the table to the point of our banner here, right? I mean, I think, at the full 100% rating, which if you're 80 or 65 or older, or I believe it's 85, sorry, if you're 85 or older and you have, a lot of disabling conditions, that some of them stem from the VA, they may not even have to. You can get set to 100%, and then your 100% rating is going to pay you close to $4,000 a month. And then on top of that, you can apply for um, an aid and assistance like pension, right? And that can be up to an additional 400 or 4,000 a month, right? So as you talk about long-term care things, and as I work on the insurance side, so I know a lot around how much it can cost and everything that needs to be done. We're trying to protect our assets, protect ourselves. Well, that is the most cost-effective long-term care outside of Medicaid itself. And so and then you can stack them all, right? So if you're getting Medicaid, then you get the aid, financial aid and assistance pension, and then you've got the 100% disability. You're going to be pretty well covered, right? And then on top of that, the VA will actually pay for your funeral expenses if you go through, a military cemetery, right? They will give you if you've had an honorable discharge, they will pay your full funeral costs. So there are just a lot of benefits regarding that. Right. So I was talking to Kim earlier, actually right before the podcast. I was looking online, and they have something called VA Life through the VA if you qualify, and it's a guaranteed issue policy, right? So if you're familiar with life insurance, especially once you get kind of into those years where you might not be as healthy, you might have some chronic conditions that are disqualifying you from life insurance. Guaranteed issue is typically, the highest that everybody will go after. So the VA actually offers guaranteed issue life insurance from 10,000 to 40,000. There's a 2-year waiting period on that in order for it to pay its full benefit. But the 2 years that you did pay into it, if you did unfortunately pass away, they pay you all your premiums back plus about 3%. So it's a great what's the word I'm looking for? It's a great asset and benefit that you could potentially look at with it running through the VA. And definitely, I know that I did talk about earlier. Hey, your funeral expenses can also be covered, but at the same time, there are still going to potentially be some expenses that the VA is not going to be able to cover, right? Just like anything, if you end up in the hospital and your insurance covers a lot of things, that's great, but does it cover when you're out of work? Does it cover these things? So it's always nice to have just a little bit on the side to help make sure that everything is covered.
I was thinking more, how is it going to pay for that celebration of life? So,
Very true. Very true.
definitely.
That's a great point. That is a great point. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what advice do you give veterans and their families who, seem to be overwhelmed by the benefits process? Because I talk to clients a lot and they're like, oh my God, dealing with the VA is such a nightmare. So how do you help them through that?
So I think let's see, the best way to do that, and the reason I give kind of a pause to it is I've been in this process as well. Not only, am I helping, but I am also in the process. I've been dealing with the VA for over 10 years, right, for my own issues. So I think as I'm giving clients or people advice, what I'm telling them is, hey, first of all, be optimistic, be patient, and understand that it's kind of a numbers game if we're getting real into it. It's unfortunate. If you are on the older side, we can sometimes push to get things expedited. But if you're in the boat where I'm at, there's a lot of hurry up and wait. And unfortunately, you look at the VA system and it is very likely, especially if you're an older veteran claiming something from way back, it's very likely that you will be denied the first time. And so don't immediately say, "Oh, I was denied. I'm done." I'm talking. Everyone it seems like, unless it's just a clear cut, obvious thing, everybody gets denied the first time, and then you appeal it. So, and then the appeal rate, that's closer to 80 or 90% win rate, right? Because at the end of the day, it goes through their system. Some random nurse practitioner goes and examines you. They write something up, and it really weeds out the individuals who are just they don't really need it. They're just trying to get quick money. And so once that initial denial comes through, you appeal it and make sure that you have all your documentation, everything that you need. And then, it really is just being patient and being optimistic and being persistent. I think
I hear that.
Consistency is key.
And so, are there common mistakes that veterans and their families make when applying for VA benefits that you can give them some advice on how to avoid?
Yes, I would say the number one mistake is just not applying, right? Just not even doing anything, right?
Yeah.
I think that is by far what I see the most is individuals who just say, and I get it. I understand that you may not want to spend the time, right? But realistically, at the end of the day, it's not a whole lot of time. So I think the biggest mistake is number one, not applying. Number two, just not want. I wouldn't even say it's not wanting to educate themselves because everybody wants to be educated. It's just not, I guess, not meeting or seeing somebody, right, that has that knowledge or has a little bit of it to kind of pull from it and say, man, let me go look at some Google searches or let me go do this. I mean, there are incredible benefits that you may still be sitting on that you have not used. I mean, if you enlisted in the military in Texas, you get the Hazelwood Act, right? So you can use the Hazelwood Act to pay for 150 credit hours of school, like college, for more than likely a child. So my son's 6, when he goes to school, I'll be able to use the Hazelwood Act to pay for all of his tuition if he goes to a state school, hopefully A&M. But if not, it's okay. I'll still pay for school. But you also have, for the younger individuals, if you haven't used your GI Bill, I exhausted my GI Bill completely. Definitely worth it. I got my full undergrad at A&M paid for by my GI Bill, and then I got about 75% of my MBA from SMU paid for by the VA. So it was about $300,000 of education completely paid for.
Nicely done.
Yeah, no. So it was I think that there are an incredible amount of benefits, especially, like I said, in Texas. I think because on top of that, I exhausted the whole GI Bill, but I still have the Hazelwood Act. So now let's use that. One of the other big, some of the other big benefits, if you are over 50% service connected, you don't pay tolls. You can go get your DV plates, and if you have DV plates, you don't pay tolls. If you are into hunting and fishing, those licenses are free. If you have 50% or more disabled, all national parks are free for entry. And then in Texas, you can also, if you haven't looked at it and you're looking for land, you can go to the Texas Veterans Land Board, and you can use that website when they will do auctions on land and sell land to the initial auction period, only veterans can go in and bid on it, and then they'll open it up to the public after that. But I've seen a lot of really good deals in there for, plots of land or foreclosed houses on. So, those are definitely some major benefits. I think one of the other huge benefits is if you are 100% disabled, and really any disability rating will knock off some of this, but if you are 100% disabled, you don't have to pay property taxes in Texas.
Nice.
So, yeah. So as we know, we may not have state income tax, which is great, but our property taxes can get a little high, right? So and there is no cap to that, right? So we have friends, or I guess I have a couple clients. They have a $2 million house, right? They don't pay property taxes on it.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's saving them, I think, 40-50 grand a year.
Yeah.
It's a pretty hefty swing, and they've been able to take that 40 or 50 grand and invest it into other assets. They decided to keep paying it, but they just put it into other things.
Yeah.
So these are all, they're all things to really be looking at and considering when you're getting into it, because there are so many benefits. I mean, and then even just some of the small ones, I always, I'm a huge person that doesn't want to like make it super known, right, that I am a disabled veteran, because like, hey, it's okay, but I don't know. I don't want to feel, I know a lot of us veterans don't want to ever feel the, oh, woe is me or entitlement or anything like that. So I don't normally ask for, military discounts when I go places, but I have over time found there's a place called like Republic Grill. They give you 50% off. So you can get a ribeye for $20. Panera Bread also offers 50% off, up to $35. So again, just some of the small things that are worth it to really be looking at, and to really, like I said, just take time. If you don't know about things, just either a Google search, ask myself, ask Kim. If Kim doesn't know, she might reach out to me. I mean, but really, I think educating yourself, right? Just, having a quick phone call with somebody and looking at, like I said, if you look up the American Legion and find a contact there, hey, just have a quick phone call. This is a situation I'm in. I'm curious, do you think I'm entitled to anything, right? And somebody who's really knowledgeable in benefits is going to be able to sit down, just ask you a few questions, and oh, okay, it's going to ping in their brain. Oh, you might qualify for this. You might qualify for that. Because not only on the disability rating, so I talked a little bit about having a service connection, but let's say you have a service connection of 60%, but you've got a service connection for one of your disabilities that's 40%. Well, and you're not working because of that, right? You're unable to work. You can apply for TDIU, which is total disability. I always forget the I, but it's basically, it pays you at the rate of 100%, even though you are not 100% disabled on for the purposes of the VA, like 100% totally disabled. So there's just so many things out there, right, that kind of pop up. I mean, I'm sure there's ones that I don't even know. I'm learning about them every day. The VA Life that I had talked about, I actually finally today was the first day that I went in and really broke it down and looked at it. So I'm learning about all these things, but I mean, every day they're coming out with new things. So it's definitely worth taking some time, looking into it, and trying to see, hey, do I qualify for something? Or, incorporating that, if you're working with someone like Kim and you're working with an estate attorney, bringing up your veteran status, kind of walking through it. And as the individuals, at Your Legacy Legal Care, helping you build that estate plan, well, how do we add some of this into that long-term plan, right? Where does this fit? And if we don't already have it, okay, let's work with someone to try to get it done, so that way we can make sure that your legacy planning is in place.
So let's talk about some of our clients. And so a lot of my clients tend to run, maybe 50 or older, and everybody's really, you hit a point, a lot older. You hit a point and you're like, oh, I didn't plan so well for long-term care. And so what kind of VA benefits help with the cost of long-term care, particularly in Texas?
Okay. Now, this is a good one, because I see this a lot as well on our side, because we're the people that help people get into long-term care products. So where the VA comes in pretty substantially, and I think I touched on it a little bit before, but as you're working with someone like Your Legacy Legal Care, and they come in, you create that, I believe it's the asset protection trust, and you're trying to get someone qualified for Medicaid to help them with that. Well, in conjunction to that, what the VA has is that financial aid and assistance pension. So when you get to the point where you are, in a home, right, a nursing home, if you're a wartime veteran or you're over the age of 65, you can apply for that, and that can pay up to $4,000 a month towards your long-term care. And it's not subject to being paid out to a nursing home either, right? It pays out directly to the veteran. So you're not, on some of our long-term care plans that we help people with, that payment has to go directly to a nursing home, which that's amazing. That's what it's for. But if you're like, my wife or myself, we're talking about trying to make sure that our parents are taken care of till the point that we just can't do it, right? So that doesn't mean that you don't need the money, right, to help take care of them. So the financial aid and assistance really, really does help quite substantially. And then if you tack on the disability, so like if you already had veterans disability, on top of that, I've seen situations where that financial aid and assistance pension can go up to $7,000 or $8,000 a month on top of the $4,000 that somebody is receiving. So you combine that, and then if you have a pretty structured plan on the Medicaid side, you've got a pretty robust long-term care plan, and the VA does a pretty good job as well of being able to offer home health services, things like that. But obviously, if you end up in a assisted living facility, a lot of times they will coordinate some of those things. So if you ever are looking at assisted living facilities for maybe parents, things like that, ask them if they have a VSO connection, because they should, because they're normally pretty good about applying someone for Medicaid when need be. But if it's veterans, again, they can apply for Medicaid and they can apply them for the financial assistance pension programs as well, and just really take pretty much all the stress of long-term care away. Because I'm fortunate, because I work in the industry. I bought my long-term care plan about 5 years ago, and it's kind of locked in at a low rate. But to Kim's point, I just quoted someone who was 72, their long-term care plan, and it's closer to $700 a month. So it's definitely a little give and take as we're looking at how to structure long-term care. And I think as a veteran, as you're looking at these things, starting now, right, is definitely beneficial.
Definitely. So how can veterans or their families apply for these VA benefits, particularly the aid and attendance and burial, things like that?
Yeah, so a majority of these benefits, you're just going to apply straight through va.gov. If you already have your Social Security portal, you're going to have an ID Me. Pretty much that's kind of the government login these days. And so you'll create your VA portal if you don't have one already. You're going to go in and you can apply directly through the VA portal. It's not super complicated, but again, it's nice to reach out to someone at a veteran service organization. They don't cost any money. They are paid to assist you with applying. So don't sit down and worry, oh man, if I reach out to somebody, I'm gonna have to pay them a fee. No, they're gonna help you collect the information. They're gonna tell you exactly what forms. My VSO contact that helps me and that I refer people to, he'll just email me the forms and I'll fill them out. Or he'll tell me, you can print this out and fill it out. Or, me being a little bit more tech savvy, he'll just say, go here and fill it out on here. So they really will help, walk you through it. And if you are a little bit more old school and it's easier to do things, hey, send it to you, get it printed off. The VSO person will send it to you. You'll print it off, fill it out, send it back, and they will upload everything into your file for you.
Awesome. Great. So, Zach, if somebody wants to find you, how do they do that? Besides
Yeah.
calling our office.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the couple different ways you can find me. So my email is Zack, Z-A-C-K, not an H, at theinfinitepartners.com. Our website is theinfinitepartners.com. And then my personal number, so if you reach out to this number, it's actually me, 346-246-5090.
Perfect. Zach, such great information for our listeners today. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show. We look forward to having you on the show again soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcasts as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.